So first and foremost, super important, bar's open. So if you want to go grab something at any point, food, beverage, otherwise just go on back there during the sermon. You're not going to bother me at all. This time, if the kids want to play, they can. They're welcome to stay in here. We try to keep things family friendly. Before we move any further, what's that?
Just one baby.
Oh, just a baby? I don't know if I count today. I didn't sleep well last night. I might be in that category too. How many people are grateful for the new space? You guys digging it at all? I love it. I think it's amazing. I think it's...
Leave the doors open so the city can hear it.
That's actually not a bad idea. Take a note next week, partners. Take a note. We'll open the doors. It's not like it's getting cold here in winter anyway, right? 70 degrees? Kidding me? So speaking of holiday time and winter, next week, holiday party. If you did not catch that announcement in the beginning, wear your ugliest Christmas attire next week. I've got the sweater, I've got the beard ornaments, I've got a hat that lights up. It's going to be a really good time. Come out, bring your friends. I'm super excited about it. And then enjoy Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve with your families. For the past 2 years, we've had this weird thing where New Year's Eve and then New Year's last year and then Christmas Eve this year and Christmas last year fell on Sundays. And we know that that's pretty much a family time for all of you. And we want you to enjoy your families. So take a break and we will see you January 7th here at the Food Lounge. And let's give them one more round of applause for letting Jesus first. Thank you so much. So happy Advent. We're in the season of Advent, if you pay attention to the liturgical calendar at all. And Advent, if you don't know what it is a season of hope. It's a season of waiting. It's a time when we, as a community, can reflect on everything that we know is wrong in this world. And when we simultaneously embrace the hope for a better tomorrow. Hope that tomorrow does not have to suffer the same injustices that we witness and that we are under today. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 3 says this. It's a prophecy about the coming Messiah. It says, "A voice cries out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill shall be made low. The uneven ground shall become level for all, and the rough places a plain. And then the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all people shall see it together. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken." This is a beautiful prophecy. It's a prophecy in the Old Testament written for a group of people who were consistently marginalized. It's a prophecy for people that are poor and suffering in poverty. It's a prophecy for people that don't possess the military might to rise up against tyrannical rule. It's a prophecy that's in favor of the oppressed. It's a prophecy that is both a declaration of God's love for the entirety of humanity being equal in the eyes of our Creator, and a prophecy that states that one day humanity will act accordingly. It's a statement of hope. One of my favorite movies of all time is Star Wars.
Shocking.
Yeah, shocking. I know I don't look it, but I'm kind of a fan. I've actually got a tattoo. And I'm super excited because the new one comes out this week, and I am just geeking out about it because Luke Skywalker is going to be back on the screen, and he's got a beard kind of like mine, so it makes it even more nerdy. He's even a little pudgy in this movie. Like, all Jedis are fat now, so I'm really excited about that. Finally, we have a hero. But the overarching theme of Star Wars is that there is power in hope, if we can hold on to it. In the movie Star Wars Rogue One, which is a preface to the original Star Wars, there's this dialogue in the film that gives me chills. It just gives me goosebumps every time that I hear this engagement. The main character in the story, her name is Jyn Erso, and she asked the leadership of the rebellion, the people that you've seen in the old Star Wars that Leia and Han and Luke are fighting for. She asked for the leadership of the Rebel Alliance to gather all of their forces to go on this mission. And in this mission, their chance of survival and or success is not likely at all. It's a suicide mission with very, very small chance of anyone succeeding. And one of the leaders in this dialogue looks at Generoso, the main character, our protagonist, and says, "You are asking us to pour all of our resources into this effort with nothing more at our disposal than hope." And the main character responds. She says that rebellions are built on hope. See, revolution is built on hope. Isn't that the truth? Hope was all Rosa Parks had when she refused to give up her seat. Hope was all that Martin Luther King had when he told the world that he had a dream of a better tomorrow. Hope was all that Susan B. Anthony had when she led the suffrage movement for women's rights in a world that was led by men and that kept women down for centuries. Hope is all that Colin Kaepernick has when he takes a knee and millions watch and thousands ridicule. Hope is all we have when we take to the streets and when we say their names. Hope is all that we have when we pray for peace. Hope that one day we're going to see heaven on earth come to pass. Hope that one day all of the promises associated with God's kingdom are going to come to fruition through us, this unlikely bunch of misfits that are trying to conquer evil in this world with little to no resources at our disposal. This prophecy, this message, does not just apply to our current political situation. It does not just speak to the corrupt nature of this nation. This message is one of hope for this church. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from people after we decided to sell our building. What proof do you have that these crazy ideas are going to work? None. But I have hope. Are you sure that you can survive if you open this nonprofit business, maybe a cafe or a brewery or something that splits its profits with local charities? Are you sure that you can actually pay the bills? No. I'm not sure. But I hope that we can. Why are you doing something that has never been done before? Because like rebellion, like revolution, the movement of Jesus, the church, has, is, and will always be built on the foundation of hope. I don't know what 2018 holds for any one of us individually. I'd like to say I have some idea of what it holds for this country, but every week it's like, roulette. I have no idea what's coming.
A new hope.
But a new hope. Yeah. We have hope. And I invite you to have hope and walk together as this hope of a better tomorrow, this hope of a thriving community, this hope of justice, this hope of equality, this hope of equity, this hope of a country that accepts and loves and embraces and gives equal opportunity to all, unfolds before us. Grace and peace to you. At this time, I want to invite Kristen up, and we're going to talk about a ceremony of hope. You see, Jesus had gathered all of his followers together, and he was about to be butchered. He was about to be publicly executed by a military-industrial complex. Needless to say, there was an overwhelming sense of sadness in the room. And Jesus, through the means of bread and wine, used these things to say that even though darkness is all around us, when you take of this bread and this wine, you remember the hope and the promise that I have given you, that one day things will be right. One day. That day starts with you. On the night that he was betrayed, Jesus took bread. And if you would all take your bread simultaneously, as Kristen does. And he broke this bread. Just like the world around us is broken, Jesus said, "This is my body. It's going to be broken, and it's broken for you. Take and eat, and as often as you do, do so in remembrance of me." Then he had some wine at the table. Got grape juice. But he took it and he poured it out. And he said, "This symbolizes my blood. It's the blood of a new covenant, a promise that provides hope for you in the midst of tragedy and injustice. Take and drink, and as often as you do so in remembrance of me." And we haven't said this prayer in a while, but I believe there's power in this prayer, because I believe it's a prayer of hope. Our Creator that art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I want to invite you to not just leave today, not just to come, absorb the spiritual experience of having a service. I want to invite you to have a spiritual experience in community with one another. Stay, eat, drink. Talk about what's going on in your life. Celebrate together. Support each other. And we will see you next week right here for our ugly Christmas sweater party. And may the peace of the Lord Christ go with you. Yes, it is on there. So if you would like to say this, please do. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you wherever it may send you. May it guide you through the wilderness and protect you through the storms. May it bring you home rejoicing at the wonders that it shows you. May it bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors. Grace and peace. Love y'all. See you next week.
I have a question.
Yes.
Now that we're not at Garfield Park, are we going to rename this sanctuary type thing?
Well, Garfield Park, this is a good conversation to have. We were going to talk about this at the beginning of the year. Garfield Park is technically the west side. So if you're old school Santa Cruz, you know that. So if we're technically central Santa Cruz and we go by Garfield Park Community Church, it may confuse people because we're saying we're Garfield Park. We're not on the west side, but we're named after it. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But we also feel like there is history at that church of many people that have come before us, and we need to figure out a way to honor that history with the continuing movement of this church. So the idea that the elders and staff have come up with is keeping that acronym of GPCC and mixing our vision in with that. So we were thinking, and if you don't like it, let's talk about it. We were thinking Greater Purpose Community Church. You guys like that? Something we could talk about. Leave it up, we can talk about it. I think it's a good thing. And then one day if we get our cafe or our brewing company, we could be the Greater Purpose Brewing Company or Greater Purpose Cafe or whatever we decide to do.
Community cafe.
So, but we can talk about it. All right, y'all. I will see y'all next week. Y'all take it easy. Enjoy some food, enjoy some drinks, and we'll see you next week for the holiday party.